Where's the Italian?
It's over 9,000! What?
Covered with scorpions. Oh, there's people.
Weird.
We can't all make declarations of hatred at the same time. Hi, everybody.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
你好中国这条线啊多爱更尊重中
Shield up. There's nothing sacred but space!
Disappointed! Alson, help me up onto his casket so I can dance on it.
I don't care.
But how did you ever find us?
Oh, easy. We just read the screenplay you left us.
And Hispanic people too.
Gold!
That means you're gay.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I'll help you.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Huh? Zappuccino.
What do you know? What do you say? M4 Empire, Marv, Movie Monster Montanero here alongside the one and only Lorn Connor for another episode of M4cast AM, the official lead-in show to the WDW Pro Show. Thank you very much for joining us. Lorn, a fine good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing good. So it's about 11 a.m., here in real people time. But I mean, it's pretty early in the morning for you.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock right now, but I've been up for the last 2 or 3 hours, so I'm well into the day for me.
Early to rise up. Look, I've already got, I think, 7 That Park Place articles under my belt for the day, so I get it. It has been a wild day already, folks, and it's only going to get wilder. Thank you very much to everyone joining in. Welcome to Raiders from Culture Casino channel, and I see Culture out there as well. I'm seeing some names in there today, Lauren, that I have never seen before, so it's good to see that. I know we have been getting a lot of new subscribers to the channel, so I'm very appreciative of that as well. Guys, this is a show that is designed for you and financed by you. We count on your generous super chats to keep the lights on around here. So sending your super chats, your gifted memberships, and we will take a look at them in between stories. And we are here with you for the next hour. So let's dive in. And right away, I can see that Ruby Hoove gifted 1 M4 Empire membership. Thank you very much, Ruby Hoove. That is awesome. I really, really appreciate it. And congratulations to whoever got that membership, because now you get to watch the latest episode of our true crime podcast, member exclusive, Crime and Punishment, with myself and Trish. We had a really good episode this week, Lauren. We talked about Ted Bundy, and man, if there is one thing that Trish is super knowledgeable about, it's music. But if there's another thing, it's murder.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that she is just assimilating all of this knowledge to figure out the way to carry out the perfect crime. I was surprised when you said last week that it was the first time that you'd recorded one of these in a year. Had it really been that long?
Yeah, it's been a year. I think almost a year to the day. I think it said it was 11 months, so it was almost at the 1 year point. Yeah.
That's nuts. Time really flies.
It really does. And we really slacked off on that apparently, but it's not going to happen again. I think Trish is hard at work compiling the next one for us. So I really enjoyed it. We had a really good time on that one. So, and everyone that's watching it has been, raving about it. So happy to see. That is available, guys, to anyone in the Imperial Soldier and above, formerly known as Tooningtown Resident. So make sure you have a look at, and gifted memberships can see that because they come in at the Imperial Soldier level. So if you get a gifted membership, remember you also have to re-up it at the end of the month. All right, Lauren, we are talking today primarily about one Bob Iger, because the Walt Disney Company had a really, really bad week, and it does not look well for the legacy of Bob Iger. The first one I wanted to talk about, I know Pro is going to be touching on this a bit today as well, but I felt like it needed repeating. I did an entire video on it just yesterday. That was that Disney denied a 2-year-old heart transplant survivor disability access at its theme parks. Lauren, have you seen this?
Yeah, I heard about it. I haven't read the story, but I've seen the chatter about it.
It's one of the most infuriating things. Disney keeps telling Wall Street that Walt Disney World is for everyone. But for one Ohio family traveling with a 2-year-old heart transplant survivor, the newly overhauled Disney World Disability Access Service, which is also called DAS, turned a milestone trip into a relentless exercise in humiliation, stress, and medical risk. Now, instead of making things easier for a child who literally survived organ failure, Disney forced her mother to repeatedly explain and emotionally relive her daughter's near-death experience just to access rides safely. So what happened here is they applied for the Disability Access Service program, Lauren. And when you have that service, essentially, it's on your phone. You are then able to make reservations for rides. If the ride is 45 minutes, then your return time will be in 35 minutes. So you're still waiting the amount of time you'd normally wait for the ride. It's just you're not waiting in the queue area. You're waiting, where it's more safe. Then you go up there, they scan, and you go into the Fast Pass Lightning Lane queue. So they denied her this, and this is a child that like needs very specific accommodations. So what they told her though made my blood boil. So the mom said, Caitlin, I believe the mom, she said this Disney trip, the one we just took, was supposed to be a celebration of survival. It wasn't supposed to feel like a fight, but the new disability access service turned what should have been a magical experience into a series of hurdles no parent of a medically complex child should have to navigate. So according to what she said, Disney told her, you can wait in the regular line. If she struggles, she can leave and return later when you're closer to the front of the attraction, or ask for a return time. So instead of just giving them the service, they were like, well, you can wait in the line. And then if she starts to have complications, then we could do something. And in that case, it'll be like maybe your husband takes them out of the attraction, and then when you wait in the line, and then we can bring them back in. Waiting for something bad to happen, Lauren, that is not a thing that...
I didn't understand the nuances of this story. I was wondering if their concern was access to the park at all, and not knowing how far away her surgery had been, how far along her recovery she was. I could understand if she's a heart transplant patient, with the park being worried about any potential complications from rides that may cause her stress on the new organ. That's an understandable thing, particularly given some of the recent things that happened at Universal. So I could understand them being sensitive to that kind of thing.
But also, it's a 2-year-old,
Yeah.
So like the rides that she can go on realistically are like Winnie the Pooh, and like, It's a Small World, and Peter Pan's Flight, and like the little dark rides. But yeah, go ahead.
This seems to make no sense whatsoever. How did they justify their reasoning here?
Because the way they always justify it is, well, you don't qualify for our disability service. That's how they justify it to people.
That's really hard to imagine.
It's horrific. Like this, if anyone needs it, it's this kid. Like she has to take scheduled medications. It's her body is still adapting to the donor heart.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I would imagine that she's got all kinds of immunosuppressants as well, and everything
she's
else.
Immunocompromised.
Yeah. So that's incredible to me. It sounds like they just didn't want this family in the park.
Yeah, this is medically dangerous. Honestly, I don't think it's that they didn't want them in the park, Lauren.
You don't think they were trying to discourage her through the frustration of... Okay.
They were trying to get her to do exactly what she did: purchase Lightning Lane Multipass.
Okay.
This was a lot more diabolical than just, we don't want a medically complex child in the park. This was, we want the medically complex child's family to purchase Lightning Lane Multipass and add hundreds, if not thousands of dollars onto their vacation just so that their child can be safe.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that it's like, for me, that would be the thing that cancels the whole trip. It's like, you're not making more money off of me. You're turning away a customer. I'm not going to put up with this garbage.
Right. They paid it, though. So that they did actually buy the Lightning Lane Multipass. So,
Well,
you know,
if that's the case, then I mean, I know they want to do something nice for their daughter, and maybe they can afford it. But to me, that's just foolishness. If they're going to treat you like that,
right.
I wouldn't give them the money.
But what has this company become under Bob Iger? That is the question. Because like the Disney of old, the Disney of Eisner never would have done something like this. And not for nothing, Universal and SeaWorld also have paid fast pass systems, and they would never do something like this. Like at Universal and SeaWorld, they use the same third-party service. You upload a doctor's note, and once they see that your doctor has said that you need this, that's it. No more questions asked.
Yeah,
I
mean,
Disney won't even take a doctor's note. They don't care if your doctor says you need it.
Is there any legal exposure for that? Because that seems to me like there should be.
There should be, right? So they basically what we're hearing is that there are a bunch of class action lawsuits, but now new people that apply for this have to agree to a terms and conditions that says you will never participate in a class action lawsuit against this.
Yeah, I have those been tested, because I'm curious about that. And I also see here in the chat that service dog is saying one of the worst aspects of the system is that you can't even try to determine if you can get gas until after they have the money for your ticket.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to actually have a ticket. Yeah, because otherwise people would do as you say, Lauren. They would just, I'm not doing it. I'm not going.
Nuts.
So, yep.
Yeah, it's a disgusting story, and
it's like a certain amount of time before your stay. I think you have to do that. It's a high pressure video call where a smarmy cast member sits on the other side of it, and they make judgment calls and try to trip you up.
I mean, when Disney was at the top, it's like they used to have respect for the consumer. We all know this. They used to provide an experience that anybody at any social class could come and experience, at least for a day.
Mm-hmm.
They got competition now. It's like, and they're not on top. It's like none of this is working to their advantage. You can try and keep
major competition too.
Yeah, you can keep trying to get blood out of the stone. You can try and continue to only accept the real high dollar clients, but I'm telling you, these people have got options. And it seems to me they're just chasing customers away everywhere they possibly can.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me as well. It is because they're trying to basically have they want fewer customers, but they want the customers that are there to pay more, essentially, is what they want.
This is where it's been said before, they view the customers as sheep, but if they continue to go there, I'm starting to feel a little less sympathetic to those who do, because you're acting like sheep. It's like, up front what you're getting here, and you're being absolutely sheared. I'm not saying that I'm being insensitive to somebody in this kind of a situation where they have a disability, but
right.
For people going to the parks at all, it's like you can see what this company has become. There's another story about Disney that was, I don't know if it's been out yet or not, but it was the horrific injury one. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
No, I don't know that one.
Well, we can't really talk about it because it's a little bit spicy, but that story also goes to some of the character of Disney these days, and I don't think that Walt would approve.
Well, I mean, look at the way they handled Lauren. There was a boat accident earlier last year. And the ferry boat crashed into the dock, and people, like, literally, they said strollers were in the air. A pregnant woman reportedly fell on her stomach. 19 people went to the hospital. Disney has never publicly acknowledged that this incident ever even took place.
Yep, I remember that story as well, and I guarantee you there's been all kinds of money that's been dispersed in that case.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that at some point details of that will come out, but that'll have to be after NDAs expire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sean, artist formerly known as John, says, Lorn, come to Portland, Oregon. Come to Portland now. I do not recommend that, Lorn.
No, I am not eager to engage in anything involving Portland, but I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's not the only thing. So Bob Iger is a man who is obsessed with his legacy, right? And this is supposedly the final year of Bob Iger being in charge of the Walt Disney Company, if that's what you believe. Let's take a look at this. A puff piece was written in the Wall Street Journal recently about how Bob Chapek killed Walt Disney Imagineering and how Disney's going to try to bring it back. That is not true. Bob Iger, not Bob Chapek, killed Walt Disney Imagineering. Now, my video this morning was on this, but I want to talk about this with you, Lorn, because for decades, Walt Disney Imagineering was the creative engine that made Disney parks magical. It didn't just adapt movies, it invented worlds. Things like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, and Expedition Everest weren't born from corporate mandates or IP spreadsheets. They came from artists, engineers, and storytellers who were allowed to take risks. And as time went on and guests fell in love with these attractions, they became their own original IP that could only be experienced in Disney parks. That culture is now gone. And while much of the Disney press prefers to pin the blame on Bob Chapek, the evidence points to a much more uncomfortable truth. The dismantling of Imagineering began under Bob Iger, not after him. So Bob Chapek was Bob Iger's chosen successor in as CEO. And it turns out he was just mostly a patsy and a fall guy. He took over and then, he basically he was not there for any specific length of time that would have allowed him to enact any like sweeping change. And he was basically...
Well, he was in the process of trying to, though. He
Yes.
had a lot of the pieces aligned to where some significant changes were going to be made, and I think that that's really what triggered the return of Bob.
Yeah.
Iger.
So they were trying to take things away from what Bob Iger had laid out. Now, under Chapek's regime as head of the parks, things started to change. You had things like the Magical Express was taken away. The Magical Express was a thing that was a bus service that took you from Orlando International Airport to your resort for not... People say for free. It was not for free. The cost of it was built into your resort stay. And they took that away, but never lowered the price. So they took away value, essentially. Under Bob Chapek, the Genie Plus system started with the paid Fast Pass, but Disney had been going after that for years. When Bob Chapek was the head of Disney Parks, he had a boss, and that boss's name was Bob Iger. And Bob Iger is the one who wanted all of this. So when Walt created Imagineering, it was never built to operate as a corporate division. It was a creative studio. Walt actually sold WDI to his own company in the 1960s, but it still retained a unique internal culture, which was part research lab, art house, and engineering firm. Now, for decades, Imagineers operated with significant autonomy. They weren't just handed movie brands and told to build rides around them. They created original concepts, original stories, and original experiences. Some of those became Disney's most valuable intellectual property precisely because they were not forced to be. And that changed when Bob Iger took over in 2005. Now, under Iger, Disney's strategy became aggressively IP driven. Of course, when you are somebody whose entire strategy is to buy up IPs, you're going to want to use IP. Instead of allowing Imagineering to invent new worlds, the parks were redefined as physical extensions of Disney's film and television portfolio. The mandate was simple: build attractions around brands that already exist. Marvel, Star Wars. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I push back lightly on this just a little bit?
Please.
Because Disney has always been an IP-based company. It's not like that's anything new. Their
No.
IP was their princess brands, and it was always around their motion pictures. That's always been the case. Now, they built that by not acquiring IPs because they didn't have to. All of the myths and legends that they were adapting were already in the public domain. They were pulling from things like Grimm's fairy tales and then bowdlerizing them and cleaning them up and making them appropriate for little girls, and then merchandising that as Disney's version of this legend. So it's always been an IP-based company. It just
Yeah.
wasn't based around the acquisition of third-party IPs.
Well, when the problem was the theme parks did have IP rights, but there were also things like the Haunted Mansion, things like Figment, things like, things that were park-specific characters and IPs that were created by Imagineering for the park specifically. And that's what went away. You don't see that anymore. When's the last time a ride opened that wasn't based on a popular Disney IP, or in some cases, non-popular Disney IP? That all started under Bob Iger, which basically took the creative edge out of Imagineering. And a lot of those Imagineers ended up being pushed out because not only were they being creatively stifled, but at the same time, Bob Iger and company were what do you call it? Like they wanted the more diverse, more female, more, driven Imagineering department. A lot of them went across town, got hired by Universal, and built Epic Universe.
Yep. Yeah, that part's definitely true. I think if you step back from it a little bit, you can understand what Iger and the others were thinking. Walt Disney Imagineering was, I look at it primarily as a research and development shop, but it's crazy that you had a division of the company that brought together engineers and storytellers who were not typically groups that would overlap, but they
Right.
were looking at new ways to create technologies that would allow them to tell a story or create an interesting attraction. And usually those technologies would have applications elsewhere. Now,
Mhm.
the problem with that kind of a department is if it's all blue sky stuff and we're developing technology without a particular mandate, then as a bean counter, you look at that as risk. We're pouring a lot of money into very expensive people's salaries for something that doesn't have a proven reward at the end of it. So, what you want to do as a bean counter is make sure that everything that you're developing is in the virtuous cycle. And so, the
Right.
idea is that everything is constantly generating revenue at every part of the cycle of development. The way that they try and make sure that happens is that you only create things that are based on known things that are already proven money makers. That's why they attach it to IP and try and cut anything out that's extraneous that doesn't have a specific application.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. You're definitely not wrong about that. But then you also lose the ability to create potential huge money makers because so we made a ride about Ratatouille, right? The Haunted Mansion is a far bigger IP than Ratatouille at this point. Pirates of the Caribbean is a far bigger IP than Tiana. So and these things were created by, you know, pouring originality and original stories into the theme parks. So it's almost like you're playing it so safe that you're missing out on potentially big things coming in the future. The Yeti in Expedition Everest, that is a merchandising machine. Figment.
Absolutely.
Figment's all over everything in Epcot.
I don't disagree, but I'm trying, again, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. When I'm making these points, it's as a devil's advocate, trying to
Yeah.
understand where are the corporate people looking at this from.
Well,
And
of course,
one of the
it's
things,
all
what,
bean counters and spreadsheets. Go ahead, sorry.
one of the things that I think is most tragic about all of this is that you look at something like Tiana's Bayou Adventure, where they have some animatronics, but most of them never work. They've tried to replace a lot of things with cleverly using screens and animation because that's cheaper and it doesn't break down. And I think
Right.
that there's probably a little bit of a superior attitude where they're trying to put their minds in the place where they think, what does the youth want? And I think there's probably a little bit of embarrassment about the idea of animatronics because you look at them as like pneumatic, poorly animated dolls that you think that the youth are going to scoff at because it's low tech, it's old timey tech, and it's constantly breaking down. And they're thinking all kids want to do is look at their screens. They're not interested in this stuff. This is for your dad and your grandpa.
Right.
And so they think replace them with screens, and not only do we get their attention, but we reduce the maintenance costs incredibly. And they're not wrong about that part. But part of the reason that the modern animatronics are constantly breaking down is because the new crop of people don't know how to build them for resilience. And
Bingo.
so I think they're wrong when they look at this as quaint, old timey tech that nobody in a modern context would like. What made the animatronics fascinating was the fact that you could do them at all. It's like back in the old days, if you went to a carnival or a fair, something that wasn't, say, Walt Disney, there's kind of a shady kind of an atmosphere around the traveling carnival, and carny people and the shoddy little attractions and some of the illicit things that can go on in those kind of environments. Disney's took and said, let's clean it up. Let's do something that's like a carnival or a fair that's all about Americana, but completely clean, completely high tech for the time, and welcoming to everybody. And that's what gave it its charm. And so when you went and you saw what could a really high-end carnival or fair look like, it's like, this is like nothing that we'd see in the traveling carnival or the local county fair.
Yep.
You can't see this technology anywhere else.
Absolutely. Well, when you're talking about like the danger of like why they don't go with even more screens, Universal tried this. Universal tried to go all screens. The Transformers, you had Fast and the Furious, you had Spider-Man, the Kong Skull Island, and they learned very quickly people don't respond well to that. It is very artificial, and now you're seeing Universal completely move away from that back to animatronics. So it's there's something, no pun intended, universal about animatronics, I think. But I think also the problem with why they're breaking down so much is not only do the Imagineers just not have the know-how that the older ones did, they're more complex now, entirely more complex.
And somebody made the point in the chat. It's scrolled past now, so I can't see it, but they're working with very small, super sensitive electronics now, where a lot of the stuff in the old days was purely mechanical, actually pneumatic, which is kind of wild when you think about it. And
air and stuff.
So a lot of things have a B mode or a completely non-functional mode now, and that's true. You're working with things that are more sensitive, but you don't have to. Technically, the old stuff still works. You're modernizing things in some sense for the sake of modernizing them. Now, another reason that I think the screen strategy doesn't work, although there are applications of it that are impressive, I actually kind of think that the Kong ride at Universal is pretty good, but you're looking at something physical and real. And in some ways, it may be stilted, but it's the same argument that I make about movies. It's like when you watch something like Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you see the stunt where Indy is being dragged under and behind the truck, you can tell this is a real guy being dragged under and behind a truck that's actually moving. Whereas in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the entire duck chase, while kind of fun, is entirely artificial, and it creates a barrier between the audience and the movie because nobody's in any danger. They're reacting.
Are you trying to tell me Shia LaBeouf was not swinging through the trees with a bunch of friendly monkeys?
Let's not go back there. That's one of the scenes that I can't defend in that movie. But
when he's with the monkeys, I was just like, I can't believe this is happening.
That actually happened in multiple versions of the script too, and it wasn't always Mutt. that was another one of those scenes that
was
George
it Indy at one point?
I think so, if I remember right. I'd have to go back and look. But yes, it's like I've told you, that movie in particular, they had certain scenes that existed in every or most drafts of the script, and those are the ones that George would not compromise on. It's like, this has to be there. It's part of my artistic vision. It's like, okay, whatever you say, boss.
The entire movie dies and lives on the monkeys. My George voice. But yeah, Bob Chapek ended up being Bob Iger's human shield. He brought him in right at the start of the lockdowns. He comes in. They made him they made him oppose the parental rights and education bill, or the don't say gay bill. And start a fight with the Florida government that ended with the Reedy Creek Improvement District being taken away. Now, that's all laid at the feet of Bob Chapek, despite the fact that it happened because Victoria Alonso insisted on it, and Bob Iger was also speaking out against it, but he wasn't the CEO of the company at the time. And then, of course, Bob Chapek is at an Elton John concert in the middle of the night on a Sunday, and he gets the message that he's been fired by the board in an emergency session, and Bob Iger is once again the CEO of the Walt Disney Company. So
yeah, during that whole ordeal, I think that when Iger came out and was speaking against what the company was doing while actively still working as a consultant behind the scenes, that is one of the most dastardly acts of corporate sabotage I've ever seen.
He never even gave up his office. Like I firmly believe that everything Bob Chapek put into motion as Disney CEO was something that was already happening under Bob Iger. He didn't have enough time to put new things into motion.
Well, I think what he was really trying to do, and where he had made the most progress, and I think this was the biggest alarm bell for them, was that he was trying to pull the creative decisions back away from the various story groups and have marketing get involved, because it was more of a Perlmutter kind of a direction. He was trying to put that more throughout the rest of the company, where it's like everything should be appealing to the broadest possible audience and also be toyetic. And I understand that there is a bit of sliminess when you start looking at things that way, when it's all about merchandising, but at the same time, there's something to be said to appealing to your audience that the current group is not paying any attention to. It's all just about, we're pushing our agenda, we're educating you plebs.
Right. I agree with you. So there it is, Lorn. Bob Chapek continues to get hung out to dry for decisions that were ultimately Bob Iger's. And the way that you know that Bob Iger didn't disagree with any of these decisions is because when he came back into power, he reversed course on anything.
Yeah,
everything happened exactly that same way.
Chapek was a scapegoat, and I mean, I'm not going to say to his credit, but it's like Chapek took the golden parachute, and I'm sure is having a fantastic time wherever it is that he's retired.
Oh, 100%.
Chapek made out like a bandit. It's like, remember, there was a point at which they announced that they were extending his contract 6 months early, and then they terminated it 5 months later, and he got the golden parachute for that full 3 years. He got paid for doing nothing for 3 years.
Wasn't it something like $300 million or something like that?
I don't remember what it was, but boy, you could pay me to not work like that. I'll do it for half as much.
All right, let's see here real quick. All right, so I believe we had another super chat come in. Yep, Dragon Queen checking in for $5 says, I have a video about 100 views about animatronic repair. I'm sure if someone bigger had one, it would get way more views. Hugs for all. Hugs back to you, Dragon Queen, and everyone, please make sure you go check out Dragon Queen's channel, because that sounds like it's a video that needs a lot more views than 100 views. So, Lorn, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today was, and I know you didn't get really a chance to watch the whole thing, but the Star Wars AI videos are seemingly dropping every day.
Yep.
And they are, exciting the fan base like nothing has excited them in the last decade.
Before you continue, there's a point that I've been thinking about that I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody about.
Okay.
We have niches that we're interested in, right?
Yeah.
Is anybody making AI videos about any other franchise but Star Wars? Or is that all that's feeding our feed?
You know what? I'm starting to see others like here and there, but it's mostly just Star Wars.
See, now this is interesting to me, and this is actually what's reigniting a little bit of hope about Star Wars for me, is that it tells me there is still an enormous amount of latent interest in Star Wars. People want Star Wars. They just don't want what they're being given. And that's not something I expected. I thought that it was dead to the point that people were just done with it no matter what. But I don't see people making AI videos for example, Harry Potter or for Star Trek or I don't know, take any other franchise that's been subverted over the last few years. It's
Right.
just Star Wars. And that means to me, I think that's part of it. I have this theory I've told you about. I think Disney has come down and told Lucasfilm, "You're not doing any more sequel content," and that's just a personal opinion. I'm basing that on no evidence whatsoever. But my sense of things is that they're looking at this AI stuff and realizing there is still an audience. That means there's a chance to recapture it, but we need to think very carefully about what we're doing. And I think that's why, as far as I know, there's nothing on the slate except The Mandalorian and Grogu, Starfighter, and Ahsoka Season 2. And remember, Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka Season 2 have been in development forever. Starfighter is completely a standalone thing as far as they're saying publicly. I think what they're really going to be looking at is Starfighter and saying, what is the reaction to this?
Yeah.
And I think that may determine what their future is.
I agree with you. I 100% agree, Lauren. I think that, clearly there's still a market for Star Wars. People want it back. I think people want it to, even if they don't think that it's going to resurrect, they want it. They want it to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the likelihood of it resurrecting is huge, but the latent interest is still there, and that was something that I was not convinced of. Something that has excited me. You know my feelings on AI. It's very mixed. It's a very useful tool. I think it's also a very dangerous tool. But people are reacting to this stuff positively. They can see it's not perfect. There's problems with it. You may have little quibbles about the story that people are telling, but the quibbles are mostly about the technology itself. Well, there's a mistake in this scene here. There's a problem with lip syncing there. This voice isn't quite right.
Right.
But the spirit is right. And people are reacting to the spirit. They're saying, this is Star Wars. This is what I like. Give me this. I will watch this flaws and all because it's giving me what I want. And the reaction, my favorite reaction to any of those AI videos that I've seen, I've watched reaction videos, I've watched people watching them in person. My favorite reaction is yours. When I showed you that Obi-Wan video, there was a moment where there was a particular line, and I knew which line it was going to be, where I heard you go, and I also heard a slight hitch that it's like you were on the verge of losing a tear. And it's like
a manly tear, but yeah.
That's the magic of these stories. And it's why these stories are important. And that's why I think it's important to preserve them, is that they make you feel something. It's when Qui-Gon is talking to Obi-Wan, he says, I didn't tell you to cover all of his mistakes. I told you to teach him. Yeah. And that's an important life lesson. That's the kind of thing that you want to hear from your father figure when you've made a mistake, is that it's not the end of all things. You did what I told you to do. There is still hope. And you need to hear that sometimes. It's like ultimately, these stories are, you can look at them as silly fluff, but they're not just that. They have meaning to people. And that is what is missing from Disney Star Wars in large part, is the heart and soul. There are individual projects that have some of it, but none of them have gotten it completely right.
Yeah, well, I wanted to go through this one because it's fascinating to me. It is a Jango Fett one. It's Jango Fett training the clones, and man, this one hit me. I mean, I like Jango Fett, I like Boba Fett, so just take a look.
You were not made to be like other men.
Can I just also say Tamura Morrison's voice really works with this? Yep. Like with the monotone kind of thing.
I got to tell you, I'm not sure if it's just on this end or not, but it was kind of badly stuttering, so I'm not sure how well this is going to translate while you're playing it.
Oh, hold on, let me try it again.
You were not made to be like other men. You were made to be better.
Is that better?
A little bit. It's still doing a little bit of it, but I think it's fine enough that the audience can see it, I think.
Okay.
will learn discipline before strength.
That's way better.
You will learn obedience before glory.
Now, they had to create models, or I guess the AI had to create models for these teenage clones, because I don't think we ever saw teenage clones.
I'm not sure about teenage. There were some that were, I think, 20s probably.
We saw like
So
Boba
this
Fett age. We saw Boba Fett age, and we saw Django age, but I don't
no,
think we ever, like,
there was a midpoint on Camino. You see some younger soldiers that are in armor and training, but it was older than these kids.
Okay.
You will fight as one. Think for yourselves and stand when others fall. Remember this. You exist to finish the mission. Nothing else matters.
They don't all look the same.
No, they don't. Yeah, yeah. And I think what they're trying to play into, it's like you're talking about the face. I noticed the hair. And I think they're doing
the hair.
I think they're doing that to play into the Clone Wars stuff where they each have a little bit of individuality. This was something I actually disagreed with a little bit, because I think at this stage, while they're training, they should be uniform. The individual aspect should be coming out after they're in the field.
I agree.
Hey, what do we got tomorrow? Wake cycle at 05. Conditioning. Then blaster practice. Again? Yeah.
I like the younger voice.
Yeah, it's clearly based on Tamira. It is a little weird that they are exactly the same. It's like D. Bradley Baker, when he was voicing them in the Clone Wars, always gave each of them a slightly different inflection, also to reflect their individuality. Hearing them talk in exactly the same voice gets a little weird, and so it made me appreciate D. Bradley Baker's performance more.
Yeah.
Then tactics. I hate tactics. Everyone hates tactics. And after that, hand-to-hand combat, then simulations.
All right, so these two talk for a little bit, and then you see some of this.
This scene I thought was particularly good.
Yeah.
Squeeze the trigger when you're breathing out.
These clones were not selected.
Was that?
I like that they get Lamassu, his voice correct too.
Perfect.
That's a really good sample.
Yeah, I agree.
For strength.
Then why are they here?
They adapt faster than the others. They learn without repetition. When corrected, they do not hesitate. They adjust.
That's the first time we've seen like the toddler clones, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I kept waiting for Boba to show up in this, and he doesn't. Spoiler alert.
There is one that looks an awful lot like him, but not in any kind of a mainline role. He's just kind of in the background.
I thought
this was a cool scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I love that they got the snow machine in the battle.
Yeah, it's basically a virtual ski resort. And it's like,
right?
Yeah, it's a nice touch, because this is the kind of thing that adds realism to the film, because it's like, well, if you were going to do this, how would you do it? It's like, well, if this were the real world, this is how you do it, and it would be a fine combat simulation.
Right, with my snow machines.
On top of this mountain, there's a flag.
So they're playing
Just
capture the flag, basically, right?
Yeah. Although I think these weapons are live fire.
So he says that they are stun guns, but they're made to give pain.
That's right. I forgot. See, we talked backstage before we started talking about this, guys. I had to confess yesterday. He sent me the link to this. I had a very long day yesterday, and I tried to watch this video on the couch, but I actually dozed off in the middle of it. So I saw everything up to about this point, and then I saw the very ending, but I missed the middle. So that's old guy Lorn talking.
By the way, Weird Darkness checking in for $20. I heard this story last night on M4 about Disney's treatment of the young girl with the recent organ transplant. If I was a Disney employee, I'd apologize to the family, walk off the job, and go to the press and social media. I agree. Like, at what point, like, you know, is your dignity worth the minimum wage that you're being paid? So I wouldn't do it. I would never do that job, trying to sit here and deny people stuff. So thank you very much, Weird Darkness. I'm happy to see you here on the channel. But let's see here.
Assault Division are currently stationed all over the training grounds, and they will defend it. These stun guns won't kill you, but they have been designed to give you immense pain. Trust me, you do not want to get hit by one of these. You might be the elite, but do not underestimate the risks of being.
So how long did it take the clones to age? Like, was it like double speed?
I'm trying to remember because Sifo Dyas had to put in the order, and I think it was 10 years. So yeah, by the time that they were combat ready, they would have been about 20. So 10 years between the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, that puts them at 20 years old. So yes, about double speed.
Okay, that makes sense. And did Django actually train the clones?
Him and a number of other men. Well, okay. Are we going current canon or old EU?
Going EU.
Okay, so old EU, Django pulled in a bunch of other Mandalorians to also train the clones. But I think they were called the Koivoldar, if I remember right, which was they could never go back home. They could never basically be associated with this project again. They were essentially the lost and the forgotten, and they were there to train these troops, and many of them had their own specialty. So each of the squads that they trained typically came out with some of the traits of their trainer. Now, this is Cal Scarata is a big part of this, and one of the things that I love about that, if you go to the old Karen Travis Republic Commandos stories, is before there were any images of any of these characters created in artwork or everything, it's like the community collectively decided that Cal was played by Ed Harris. And when the official images of him came out, it's like, that's what it was. It was all Ed Harris. It's like, that's bizarre. It's like everybody just, it's like, yep, Cal Scarata's Ed Harris, and the community just collectively dreamed it up.
That's funny. So we actually kind of get action a little bit better in this one.
Group 1 in position. 2 in position. Enemy in sight. Open fire on my command. Copy that. Fire.
Now I do remember seeing part of this. This is where the AI starts to let you down a little bit, as it oftentimes does in fight scenes. There's an awful lot of coordinated falling, but you get the gist of what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, I just imagine what this will be in a year, though. Like, as far as battle scenes go, I will say for clone troopers, they've got stormtrooper aim.
Yes, but I mean, look at those helmets.
Yeah. All the scratches and battle damage on them.
I'd be a lot happier if I was seeing him use DC-17.
Yeah, I agree.
See, that doesn't look like just a stun weapon.
Yeah, no. Oh, that's great. I love this. I think this is fantastic. So, all right, Lauren, that's about everything I had for today. We're a little early, but I think we could send everybody over to Pro maybe a little early so they get in for the beginning of the intro there.
We can. You want to do maybe some Q&A real quick if anybody wants to ask us anything?
To be perfectly honest, I'm feeling a little sick and feel like I probably need to go. So I was trying to hide it, but I was like, well, there's no way to get around that now.
Sorry, man.
No, but I will be on the Pro Show eventually. I will get there. And then I also saw that Scott Adams died. So I'm going to want to do a write-up on that real quick before I get on the Pro Show as well. So, Lauren, anything you want to plug? Anything you got to get out there?
We got the show coming up that we're leading into here. We have the Late Night with Lorn and the Apollo show tonight. I'm a little up on the air on it. I don't know if the audience knows, but I'm filling in for Jonas quite a bit this week. So I'm very busy and we haven't been able to coordinate that show yet. So tonight might be interesting. But if you want to join us there tonight, that should be at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So hope to see you guys there tonight.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, guys. Please, I'm hoping. So I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm not sure what I'm going to have in terms of videos releasing throughout the day, especially because it's a Tuesday. It's such a busy day. I'm going to be on the Pro Show next, and then I'm going to be on the HCast a little bit later today. So make sure you check that out. Hey, make sure you check out my buddy Awful Wrestling tonight over on the Toonie Talk Wrestling stream over on the Toonie Town Wrestling stream. I will not be there, but Dis and Awful will do a great job over there. So thank you guys very much. And from all of us here at the M4 Empire, thank you for your attention, and we'll catch you in the next one.